everyone. My name is Graham Russell and I'm the Managing Director for HSC Technology Group. And thank you very much for coming along for the next 20 minutes while we start to tackle the next big challenge of our 5 Big Challenges webinar series in the aged care sector. Obviously, we know that aged care industry is in a state of flux. We've had the Royal Commission, we've now had COVID, we've now got these, what we're obviously talking about today around staff engagement and the massive skills shortage that we're facing. What we've wanted to do is that, if any of you don't know, HSC Technology Group is an ASX listed company that specialises in assistive technology to the aged care sector. We partner mainly with providers, and within that situation is that we white label the products, but our technology works on these 5 big challenges of improving better compliance, which is the main part of our solution, but how it improves staff engagement. And I'll be going a little bit deeper into that today, but obviously it helps with family communication, resident autonomy, and commercial viability. But in relation to staff engagement, we've got currently a situation where, like in any skill shortage, is that we're going to see inflation. And we have the situation where employers and care providers aren't actually interviewing staff. The care staff are actually interviewing the company. And we're going to see bits of like what we've seen in mining in the past, where huge inflation will increase for people who are prepared to do the job. And also is at what conditions and location. How we can assist this with is also what tools are being provided for the care teams. And what we're going to show you today with our technology is how do we utilise the existing staff we have better? How do we remove unnecessary and repetitious tasks that are boring, diminish satisfaction and job happiness? And this then obviously alludes to is how do we reduce churn? And obviously all the associated training costs as we see this mass resignation of people across the sector. Like we have some clients that are currently running most shifts with 20 to 30% of temp staff. So those associated costs of having a temp staff who actually don't know the site or the residents. So we're having issues around the family and the resident satisfaction as well. And the bit that we see that's a huge risk for providers is that our compliance is rising, but our skills and staff is lowering. And this is creating a high risk situation. So what we wanted to do is actually introduce to you the way that we're doing this. And I'm going to show you some of the technology. I'm going to display a video here, which quickly goes into, for the next 2 minutes, how the technology works, which is a simple demonstration. And then I'm actually going to show you how we actually do it and how we implement it. Because sometimes we're looking at these challenges. I'll just let that load there now. The aged care industry faces 5 major challenges: meeting compliance requirements, keeping staff retained and engaged, improving family communication, expanding resident autonomy and dignity, and maintaining commercial viability. Across all these areas, expectations have changed, but our ways of working haven't. Spot checking and rounding are slow, repetitive, and disruptive. Paper trails are ineffective and unsafe, and data isn't collected or used for resident and business planning. The Talius Smart Care system solves all of these challenges in a simple to implement way. Talius becomes the technological heart of your operations, collecting and analysing all the data from your sensors to automatically trigger proportionate actions. With your sensors connected to Talius, you can be monitoring all your residents all the time, accessing real-time data on location, activity, and vital signs. You can set rules and alerts at both an individual resident level and an organisational policy level, with Talius recognising anomalies and providing actions ranging from alerting staff to triggering an emergency response. This spells the end of wasteful spot check care and the beginning of sensing, analysing and responding care, where your team can then spend their time building meaningful connections rather than worrying about wasteful paperwork. The data Talius collects is securely collated into a simple-to-use dashboard and reporting model, which improves resident and business outcomes. by allowing you to access all the care information at the click of a button, reallocate staff to more fulfilling and effective activities, and give families access to real-time alerts and dashboards. These create personalised care plans that reduce disruption and increase dignity for the residents and help you make data-informed business decisions. Tallies is technologically agnostic to support whatever systems you have in place now, and powerful enough to scale for whatever comes next in the future. It's also supported by HSE's range of world-class sensors across aged care, village and home care applications. Don't leave yourself exposed, and don't let your organisation fall behind. Tallius is the next generation aged care technology platform. It's already being used by the best in the business, and it's available for you too today. So act now. So, just wanted to hope that, So, it is a big part of how do we actually deploy sensors, and this is what we probably want to hone in on, is that staff engagement is obviously, there'll be parts as an organisation that you'll work on, obviously around conditions, obviously pay and culture. But what we're also saying is that in your HR processes and so forth, is that one, you will show that you're investing back into the staff to support them through these challenges that we're currently going through. But this will also help with recruitment, differentiating yourself from other providers. So I wanted to show you quickly is that, like, one of the banes of most care staff is two things is staff rounding and welfare checking, of actually walking down hallways and opening doors and seeing if people have fallen out of bed. It's a very menial task. It's boring. It doesn't actually usually ever stop anything. And so what we have developed is a first world-class sensor called the sleep sensor. This actually sits under the corner of the leg of the bed. So the bed sits on top of this. Now, this one sensor will now tell care staff that a resident's in bed. So from our platform, which I'm going to show you in a second, you'll see every resident in bed. You're also going to see their heart rate and their breath rate. You're going to see when they're out of bed and when they come back to bed. This can also turn on the light for dementia wandering and so forth, so we remove trip hazards. So this one sensor, you don't need to do staff rounding. So this one sensor also allows is that from a nurse's station is that they can see all the residents at all the time. So the benefits of this is that, on a HR process, come and work at our care company because you don't have to do staff rounding. Secondly is that we're supporting you with real lifetime data. So what I was going to do is actually just go to the software to show you how that works exactly. So this one sensor, so we have providers currently who, let's open that dashboard, have been able to remove one shift in their nighttime. So saving an example of around $3,500 to $3,000 per week per site by just implementing this sensor. If you can see here, this is an existing live site that allows us to demonstrate and show. We've got a few people in bed to show you example, but obviously a lot of people are out of bed. But we've got some residents here. So Charlene, for example, we've got 49 beats per minute and 8 breaths per minute. Her average is 55 and 9. We're also looking at her movement level. This is another part around pressure sores. So this is an example of how one sensor at like the retail cost of about $280, which is cheaper than a bed mat, can actually give you live data, reduce the workload, and obviously give you a differentiation, but actually improves compliance for the organisation. The data that's also collected in here, as we said, is that can also then move into care plans. So I'm just going to show you, for example, Bob. So Bob, sleep score last night was 50. We can see last night that he went to bed at 6:10 p.m. and woke up at 7:40 a.m. He slept for 13 hours and 6 minutes and he got up 8 times during the night. We can see the quality of his sleep and we can also see the heart rate and breath rate. So in comparison to how we're currently doing business, is that we've got someone doing a 3-hourly check for 2 minutes, disrupting the resident, and the staff member's not capturing any data. They find it repetitive and meaningless, and the compliance part is actually quite weak. Where in comparison, if we're collecting all this data and information, we're actually supporting the care teams to make better decisions. So an example here, we can see that Bob's sleep score over the last 4 weeks has actually improved. We can see here an average is that he sleeps for 12 hours and 16 minutes, and he gets up on average 7 times per night. And he's away from his bed at night for 43 minutes for rest stops and so forth, restroom stops. We're seeing his heart rate and breath rate, and we're seeing that he's napping during the day. This data is just next level for you around compliance and actually gives you some information. This now also presents back to the care teams. So if there's ever any issues or alerts, we can create alerts in relation to it. So just quickly bringing that up for you now. So if we wanted to, for example, on Joanna, we can actually turn on a bed sores alert. So if there's no movement, if a resident's getting up too frequently, we create an alert. If they haven't returned to bed, so if they've gone to the toilet and have come back to bed, we create an alert. So we're actually, instead of like checking everyone all the time through spot checking, we're actually managing by exception. And with this dashboard information, it supports the care teams and obviously allows us to utilise the staff in a way that they're doing more meaningful tasks. Another example of other sensors that I wanted to show you is an example of we know a lot of care companies that are currently still every 3 or 4 hours going around with a thermometer and putting it into the fridge to check if the food or the drugs fridge is at the right temperature. This is another example of spot check, which is a very menial task, but it's a high risk. So if the drug fridge isn't cool enough, all of the antibiotics and so forth are wasted, we show how a little battery operated sensor can be placed in the fridge that will create an alert to the care team. So all of these alerts come through Tallius, and then Tallius presents the information to the care team. So the data actually provides the efficiency, but also the support. I also wanted to show you another part of our technology, just to give you an example of this is a site that we have just completed in Singapore for a 5-story, 180-bed facility, where the residents wear different types of devices. So we have a necklace version like so, which we've crafted into a piece of jewelry. We've also got gentlemen's ones like so, and they are the nurse call buttons. So when you press the button, that will call for a carer. The beauty of this is that for nurses here, if you can have a look at this, we can actually see where every resident is at all times. So I'll just turn that off and that off. And so you can see here the reds are residents, and so where they are currently, we can see staff and we can see registered nurses. So for a carer is that they can actually see where everyone is at all times. Now the thing is, obviously a lot of people communicate that this is Big Brother, but the situation is that we need a Big Brother at the moment. We need some technology to support us. And so when you show this information to this data and these tools in your HR processes, people can clearly see the benefits. And so we can actually see this nurse here moving through. It's just moved there, and we've got these residents in bed. So having this information stops us from spot checking, improves the resident environment. Family members now feel more connected, and it covers all of our compliance. So we use this data to do things like, looking at quality of sleep, toileting, showering, hygiene, and meals. We also can utilize it to find things. So for example, if we're looking for a hoist, or we're looking for, so if I put in Stevie, so we're looking for Stevie, it actually then tells us that Stevie is downstairs in the office. And if we're looking for Mary, or we're looking for a hoist, this data and information can quickly show that Mary's in room 204. So these are all the small wins that actually makes things easier. Instead of a carer having to walk around all the rooms to try and find someone, we can quickly locate someone in that situation. So I'm just going back to the slide. So the other parts of this is just showing you how the sensors can actually support the care teams and improve compliance of how we do the nurse call, bringing existing nurse call systems in, monitoring the vital signs through the sleep sense. Obviously, we have falls radars as well, so helping in detecting early locations around dementia wandering and closing doors. And then we talked about environment, and then we have options for future sensors. All of this data works on the model of creating awareness for the care teams. Then Tallius does the analysis and then provides the action for the care teams. So it supports the organisation on a bigger picture. I probably just wanted to highlight is that we're now rolling out thousands of this one sensor. It has shown an immediate return on investment at $270 is that we can quickly say with the 3.5. But as far as installation goes, it actually just goes under the leg of the bed. In an aged care home, we have a tiny ramp and we have a spacer that goes on the other side of the leg. We've won global awards for this sensor, and it just plugs into a power point or into a USB point. So it's very simple to install and deploy very quickly. So while we are having this, with the ADF and so forth and staff shortage crises in the space, we can actually deploy this fairly quickly and have some pretty immediate effect. A couple of things it does is it shows to your existing staff that the management's doing something to help them. So it demonstrates that part, so it'll help with your retention, but also then when you're recruiting, you can show that you're ahead of the game and what you're looking at doing. So anyway, I just want to say thanks very much for everyone for sharing your coffee and your sandwich with me on the Friday afternoon. And if you've got any queries or you'd like to go into a bit more depth of how we do this, we'd love you to give us a call and we can run through you and show you how this may assist some parts of your HR strategy and policy around staff engagement. But thank you very much, everyone.